Have you ever wondered why you're always attracted to the same type of man? Why, even knowing that certain patterns hurt you, you continue making the same choices? What if I told you there's an invisible force operating in the depths of your unconscious that determines every move in your love life? Carl Jung discovered something disturbing. Our sexual attraction isn't governed by reason, but by archetypal forces residing in the collective unconscious. These forces are so powerful, they can make us repeat the same destructive patterns for decades without us even realizing it. Today, you'll discover the darkest truth about sexual attraction, a truth most women prefer to ignore because it's too uncomfortable to face. But those who have the courage to look into this darkness, they gain immense power over their relationships. Prepare yourself for a journey to the shadow side of the human psyche, where your deepest desires reveal secrets you never imagined you possessed.
What your unconscious hides, the sexual shadow you don't want to see. There's an invisible force governing your romantic choices, and it has nothing to do with your mental list of the ideal man. This force operates in the depths of your unconscious, determining who you're attracted to before your rational mind even kicks in. We all carry a shadow, that part of ourselves we reject, deny, and hide even from ourselves. And when it comes to sexuality and relationships, our sexual shadow is one of the most powerful and least understood forces governing our lives. Think of that woman who considers herself independent and feminist but feels inexplicably attracted to domineering men, or the one who preaches equality but secretly fantasizes about power dynamics. This isn't hypocrisy, it's the sexual shadow in action. The sexual shadow contains all the impulses, desires, and fantasies that our conscious mind considers unacceptable. Carl Jung discovered that the more we repress these aspects, the more power they gain over our choices. It's like trying to hold a ball underwater. Eventually, it explodes to the surface with double force. Here's what's truly disturbing. Your sexual shadow doesn't just influence who you're attracted to. It literally attracts people who mirror your repressed aspects. It's an unconscious magnetism that works like an emotional radar, connecting you with individuals who externally carry what you internally deny. For example, if you repress your own aggressiveness and assertiveness, you might feel compulsively attracted to aggressive men. If you deny your vulnerability, you might be magnetized by emotionally unavailable men who force you to chase what you yourself refuse to express. The crucial question is, are you willing to look into this darkness? Because recognizing your sexual shadow is the first step to stop being controlled by it. When you consciously integrate these repressed aspects, you stop projecting them onto others and gain the power to choose consciously instead of being dragged by unconscious forces. Jung said that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Your attraction patterns are a direct map to your sexual shadow. The question is, do you have the courage to follow this map?
Anima and animus. Why you're attracted to the wrong men. Have you ever noticed how some women seem to have a specific type of man that repeatedly attracts them? It's not coincidence. There's an archetypal image engraved in your unconscious that functions as an emotional magnet, determining who sparks your romantic and sexual interest. Carl Jung called this image the animus, the masculine representation that every woman carries within herself. The animus isn't just a preference, it's a powerful psychic force that shapes your perception of what masculinity is and determines the type of masculine energy you find attractive. But here's the problem. Your animus was formed long before you had awareness about healthy relationships. It was molded by your first experiences with masculine figures, primarily your father, but also other significant men from your childhood. And if those experiences were dysfunctional, your animus carries those dysfunctions as a template for attraction. Imagine a woman whose father was emotionally distant, but occasionally showed affection. Her animus might have recorded that true love is something you need to conquer, that oscillates between closeness and distance. Result: she'll feel compulsively attracted to emotionally unavailable men, interpreting this familiar dynamic as passion. The animus operates at different levels of development. At the most primitive level, it manifests as attraction to men who represent raw power, the bad boy, the rebel, the dominator. As it evolves, it can transform into attraction to men who represent status, intellect, or creativity. But at all levels, it functions as an unconscious filter that determines who passes through your romantic radar. The disturbing truth is that you might be rejecting genuinely compatible men because they don't activate your dysfunctional animus. Meanwhile, you feel irresistibly attracted to those who replicate toxic familiar patterns, interpreting this familiarity as chemistry. Recognizing your animus is like discovering you've been wearing glasses with distorted lenses your whole life. When you understand what type of masculine image governs your choices, you can begin to question whether this image truly serves your interests or if it's just an echo from the past that needs updating. The question you need to ask is your animus leading you toward love or keeping you trapped in patterns that prevent your happiness? And more importantly, are you ready to rewrite this unconscious programming? If you're starting to recognize patterns in your love life that you'd never noticed before, leave a comment sharing which insight has impacted you most so far. Your awareness is expanding, and that's the first step toward real transformation.
The dangerous projection: how you create the man of your dreams and nightmares. Have you ever lived that devastating moment when you realized the man you were in love with never really existed? That you were loving an idealized version you created in your own mind? Welcome to the dangerous world of psychological projection, the most destructive and least understood mechanism in modern relationships. Projection happens when you unconsciously attribute to another person qualities, characteristics, or potentials that exist only in your psyche. It's as if you were a movie projector, and the man in front of you was just a blank screen where you project your own internal contents. But here's what makes this truly dangerous. Projection isn't an occasional mistake. It's an automatic and constant process. You're always projecting aspects of yourself onto others, especially those you're attracted to. And the more intense the attraction, the more intense the projection. There are two main types of projection that destroy relationships. The first is positive projection, when you see in the man qualities he doesn't possess. You project onto him your own undeveloped potential, your repressed creativity, your denied inner strength. He becomes the hero of your personal story, carrying all the qualities you'd like to develop in yourself. The problem? When reality inevitably breaks the illusion, you feel betrayed. But he didn't betray you. You betrayed yourself by giving your power to a fantasy. You were loving aspects of yourself that you projected onto him, not the real person he is. The second is even more destructive: negative projection. Here, you project onto the man your own shadow qualities, your repressed anger, your denied manipulation, your unfazed fears. You see him as controlling when it's you who tries to control. You accuse him of being emotionally unavailable when it's you who fears real intimacy. Carl Jung observed something fascinating. We feel most attracted to people who carry our most intense projections. That's why toxic relationships can be so addictive. They're saturated with mutual projections, creating an emotional intensity we confuse with true love. Projection also explains why you might feel empty when a relationship ends. It's not just the loss of the person, it's the loss of all the aspects of yourself you had projected onto them. You literally fragmented yourself, scattering pieces of your psyche into another person. But there's a way out. When you learn to recognize your projections, you can begin to consciously reclaim them. Every quality you intensely admire in a man is an invitation to develop that quality in yourself. Every characteristic that deeply irritates you is a mirror of your own denied aspects. True intimacy is only possible when you stop projecting and begin to see the real person in front of you. This means giving up the fantasy of the perfect man and embracing the reality of a complex and imperfect human being. Paradoxically, that's when real love becomes possible.
Mastering your attraction: how to use Jungian knowledge to have power in relationships. Now that you understand the unconscious forces governing your attraction, it's time to transform this knowledge into real power. Because knowledge without application is just intellectual entertainment, and you're not here to be entertained. You're here to be transformed. The first step to mastering your attraction is developing what Jung called the transcendent function, the ability to observe your own psychological processes in real time. This means creating an internal space between you and your automatic reactions, where you can choose consciously instead of being dragged by unconscious impulses. Start practicing conscious observation. When you feel attracted to someone, pause and ask, what exactly is attracting me here? Don't accept superficial answers like, he's handsome or has a sense of humor. Go deeper. What energy does he represent? What aspect of your own psyche is he activating? What unmet emotional need does he seem to promise to satisfy? The second step is actively reclaiming your projections. Every time you catch yourself idealizing or demonizing a man, recognize that you're projecting. Ask yourself, what quality am I seeing in him that I need to develop in myself? If it's confidence, work to cultivate your own confidence. If it's creativity, invest in your creative expression. If it's emotional stability, develop your own self-regulation skills. The third step is consciously integrating your sexual shadow. Instead of repressing aspects of your sexuality you consider unacceptable, explore them in safe contexts. If you deny your need for domination, find healthy ways to exercise power. If you repress your vulnerability, practice gradual emotional openness. When you integrate these aspects, you stop being controlled by them. Here's a powerful strategy. Use Jung's active imagination technique. Dialogue internally with your animus. Visualize him as a separate figure and ask what he really wants from you. Often you'll discover he doesn't want you to find a specific man, he wants you to develop certain qualities in yourself. The fourth step is establishing new conscious criteria for relationships. Instead of being guided only by unconscious attraction, create a list of qualities that truly matter for your long-term happiness. Value compatibility, communication ability, emotional stability, personal growth. Use these criteria as conscious filters, even when your automatic attraction points in another direction. Finally, practice what Jung called conscious relationship. This means entering relationships with full awareness of your own projections, patterns, and unconscious needs. Communicate openly about your internal processes. Take responsibility for your emotional reactions instead of blaming the other. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate attraction or become completely rational. Attraction is an important vital force. The goal is to become aware of the forces operating through you so you can direct them consciously instead of being directed by them. When you master your attraction this way, something magical happens. You stop being a victim of your unconscious patterns and become the conscious architect of your love life. You attract people who resonate with who you really are, not with your unhealed wounds or unmet needs.
Now you know that your sexual shadow attracts exactly what you reject in yourself.
You understand how your animus, formed in childhood experiences, functions as a filter determining who you're attracted to. You recognize how your projections create illusions you confuse with true love. But the most important knowledge you've gained is this: you have the power to change these patterns. You're not condemned to repeat the same destructive cycles forever. Practical tips for your transformation. 1. Practice daily conscious observation. Every time you feel attraction to someone, pause for 30 seconds and ask, what aspect of myself is this person reflecting? Note your discoveries in a patterns journal. 2. Do the sexual shadow exercise. List 3 characteristics that most irritate you in men. Now, honestly identify how each of these characteristics exists in some form in you. Work to consciously integrate these aspects. 3. Rewrite your animus. Create a new image of the ideal masculine based not on your past, but on your current values. Visualize this new image daily for 10 minutes for 30 days. 4. Practice projection reclaiming. When you idealize or demonize someone, ask, what quality am I projecting that I need to develop in myself? Then take concrete action to cultivate that quality. 5. Establish conscious criteria. Create a list of 5 non-negotiable qualities based on real compatibility, not unconscious attraction. Use it as a filter in all relationships. You discovered that sexual attraction is governed by your repressed shadow, shaped by your archetypal animus, and distorted by your unconscious projections. But you also learned that by becoming aware of these forces, you can consciously direct them, transforming yourself from a victim of your patterns into the architect of your love life. The darkest truth about sexual attraction is that it reveals who you really are, not just who you think you are. But when you have the courage to look at this truth and work consciously with it, you gain immense power. The power to choose consciously, love authentically, and create relationships that truly serve your evolution. The work doesn't end here. In fact, it's just beginning. Every future relationship will be an opportunity to apply these insights. Every attraction will be an invitation to deeper self-knowledge. You now possess the tools. The question is, will you have the courage to use them?